All scientific discoveries are amazing, and some are truly life-changing. Some of the greatest scientific breakthroughs have been accidentally discovered within a laboratory, although not many will admit to this. If you ask a scientist, it was due to decades of dedication and hardship. In the last decade alone, scientists around the world pulled off impressive feats, from imaging a supermassive black hole for the first time, discovering new human ancestors, creating groundbreaking new medical treatments, right through to launching probes to distant asteroids, comets, and moons. If they can discover all this in just one decade, imagine what life-changing discoveries have been made throughout the whole of history. In our list today, we are going to take a look at just a small number of these amazing breakthroughs on our list of top 10 interesting science discoveries. Before we continue, just a reminder to like this video and subscribe to Urban Versa for more videos just like this one. But for now, let's get into our list. Number 10 comes from the man considered by some to be the greatest scientist of all time, Sir Isaac Newton. Among his many discoveries, the most important is probably his law of universal gravitation. In 1664, Newton figured out that gravity is the force that draws objects towards each other. It explains why things fall down and why the planets orbit around the sun. Some pretty important stuff, I'm sure you'll agree. Personally, I prefer to not float out into space and hurtle straight into a giant fireball. Sir Isaac Newton was an English mathematician and physicist. The legend goes he discovered gravity when he saw a falling apple while thinking about the forces of nature. Whatever really happened, Newton realised that some force must be acting on falling objects like apples, because otherwise they would not start moving from rest. The end outcomes to this were Newton's 3 laws, as well as some great apple juice. The first law was, an object will not change its motion unless a force acts on it. In the second law, the force of an object is equal to the mass times its acceleration. In the third law, when two objects interact, they apply forces to each other of equal magnitude and opposite direction. Thanks go out to Michael Faraday, who is our number 9 discoverer. This guy has made all of our lives much easier by discovering electricity. In fact, back in 1821, he made the first of 2 discoveries. He discovered that when a wire carrying an electric current is placed next to a single magnetic pole, the wire will rotate. This led to the development of the electric motor. 10 years later, he became the first person to produce an electric current by moving a wire through a magnetic field. Faraday's experiment created the first generator, the forerunner of the huge generators that produce our electricity. At number 8, we have evolution. When Charles Darwin, the British naturalist, came up with a theory of evolution in 1859, he changed our idea of how life on Earth developed. Darwin argued that all organisms evolve or change very slowly over time. These changes are adaptations that allow a species to survive in its environment. This all happens by chance, and if a species does not adapt, it may become extinct. Darwin named this process natural selection, but we may all know it as survival of the fittest, or you snooze, you lose. The internet's Hall of Fame for stupid ways of dying is known as the Darwin Awards. Now you know why. Of course, we cannot have a list of scientific discoveries without the Big Bang Theory. This is our number 7 discovery, and one of the, if not the most important one. It's where it all started. Nobody really knows exactly how the universe came into existence, but many scientists believe that it happened about 13.7 billion years ago with a massive explosion called the Big Bang. In 1927, Georges Lemaitre proposed the Big Bang theory of the universe. The theory says that all matter in the universe was originally compressed into a tiny dot. In a fraction of a second, the dot expanded. All the matter instantly filled what is now our universe. The event marked the beginning of time, as well as a successful sitcom. Scientific observations seem to confirm the theory, the Big Bang, not the sitcom. So before we get to the halfway mark, let's look at our number 6, which has got to be one of the greatest discoveries in history. On February 28, 1953, 2 scientists, James Watson of the United States and Francis Crick of England, found the double helix structure of DNA. It's made up of two strands that twist around each other and have an almost endless variety of chemical patterns that create instructions for the human body to follow. Think IKEA, but a bit more sophisticated. Our genes are made up of DNA, not the denim variety, but the ones that determine things like what colour hair and eyes we will have. In 1962, the two scientists were awarded the Nobel Prize for their work. This discovery has helped doctors understand diseases and may someday prevent some illnesses like heart disease and cancer. Let's not forget how it also helps the criminal justice systems, with DNA profiling changing the world of forensic science. We've now hit the halfway mark on our countdown, and before we continue with our discovery list, another reminder to like this video if you're enjoying it, and subscribe to get more great content from Urban Versa. We are going to stay on the medical subject for our number 5 discovery and go back to 1928, when Alexander Fleming discovered penicillin, which is the first antibiotic. Fleming discovered this quite by accident. He noticed that mold had started to grow in a petri dish of bacteria cultures. While trying to salvage cultures unaffected by the mold, he noticed that bacterial colonies would not grow near the mold. Fleming soon realized that the mold must be releasing some kind of substance that inhabited bacterial growth. Penicillin was later introduced in the 1940s, saving countless lives. So the green mold you see growing in your old bread is in fact penicillin. We wouldn't advise eating it though. Now for our explosive number 4 discovery, and this one is both interesting and terrifying: the atomic bomb. The legacy of the atomic bomb is mixed. On the one hand, it successfully put an end to World War II, but on the other, it ushered in the nuclear arms race. Some of the greatest scientists of the time gathered in the early 1940s to figure out how to refine uranium and build an atomic bomb. Their work was called the Manhattan Project. In 1945, the US dropped atomic bombs on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Tens of thousands of civilians were instantly killed, and Japan surrendered. These remain the only 2 nuclear bombs ever used in battle. Several of the scientists who worked on the Manhattan Project later urged the government to use nuclear power for peaceful purposes only. But even today, many countries continue to stockpile nuclear weapons. Maybe what prevents them from using these weapons is the mass devastation they would cause. At number 3, we are going back to the medical side of things and taking a look at the discovery of X-rays. German physicist Wilhelm Röntgen discovered X-rays back in 1895. Again, another discovery that was accidentally stumbled across, but one that would award Röntgen the first ever Nobel Prize in physics. These accidental discoveries are doing nothing for the reputation of honest hard work. While working on a cathode ray tube, Röntgen noticed something strange was happening. Despite the tube being covered, he saw a nearby fluorescent screen glow when the tube was on and the room was darkened. He tried to block the apparently invisible rays, but most things didn't have an effect. When he tried using his hand, he noticed that he could see his bones in an image projected on the screen. Amazed, he replaced the screen with a photographic plate, and the first X-ray ever was created. Let's not forget, X-rays are not only useful for finding broken bones, they can also be useful for many other things, including detecting explosives at airports. Before we reveal our number 1 interesting science discovery, let's look at number 2. It's the foundation for much of modern science: Albert Einstein's theory of special relativity. Einstein published his theory in 1905. It explains the relationships between speed, time, and distance. The complicated theory states that the speed of light always remains the same, 186,000 miles per second, regardless of how fast someone or something is moving toward or away from it. The theory explains the behavior of objects in space and time, and it can be used to predict everything from the existence of black holes to light bending due to gravity, to the behavior of the planet Mercury in its orbit. The implications of Einstein's most famous theory are profound, although then again, it's all relative. Our number 1 interesting science discovery is the Copernican theory. In 1543, while on his deathbed, Polish astronomer Nicholas Copernicus proposed a heliocentric system that the planets orbit around the Sun, that Earth is a planet which, besides orbiting the Sun annually, also turns once daily on its own axis, and that very slow changes in the direction of this axis account for the precession of the equinoxes. Before the Copernican system was introduced, astronomers believed the Earth was at the centre of the universe. Wonder how silly they felt after. It's a good job internet forums weren't around then. They would have been saying that crazy old Nick has been going on about the sun being at the centre of the galaxy. What a noob. So these are our top 10 interesting science discoveries. We know there are so many more out there. So let us know which is your favourite. Is it one of ours? Let us know in the comments below. Remember to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel to support Urban Versa. Thanks for watching.